Good evening and welcome to the Queenie Quilt Studio. It's been a long time since we've been here. It's been a really busy year, trying to survive life, really. And I've really just not been in the studio, not been doing as much quilting, not been doing as much teaching, but that's all kind of changing as we get into 2026. Did a lot of work last year in streamlining my sewing life so that I have more time to sew, but it also meant I wasn't doing as much video. But hopefully we're going to change that in 2026. Now I say that and it's February. I plan to make this video in December, but it got a little busy, so we'll see how long our luck lasts. But for now, we're going to do as much as we can. I have had lots of requests from a few of you about specific videos, and I promise I'm going to get to those. But for today, we're going to start off easy and talk about something pretty straightforward and simple, and that's the plans for 2026 in terms of what I want to get done in my sewing room. I don't know about you guys, but the sewing room is my place of respite, my place to take a step back from life, enjoy myself, and just have fun sewing, creating, making. So in all that, I also love to make plans. I'm a project manager in my day job. It's just kind of my life. So I sat down in late December and kind of made some high-level plans for 2026. Now, it's a plan of finishing, right? So I have whips in every stage. I have ones that have already gone off to the long armor. I'm really just waiting to get them back and get some binding on them. So I have those that are in that almost done category, like inches away from the finish line. And I have ones that I haven't even started. But most importantly, I have ones that have lots of in process to do. So we're going to talk primarily about those. We're going to talk about the year's plan, and then we're going to talk specifically about Q1 and what I'm going to do to make sure that I get the things done that I want to get done. So for 2026 as a whole, I've picked 16 projects that I really want to finish. Now, as I said, some of them are started, some of them are almost finished. And they run the gamut in terms of easy, simple, quick, just need a few hours of sewing, all the way to it's a year-long project. So let's get started and talk about them, each one on its own. So I have my handy dandy list here because my memory's not that great, guys. It just really isn't. So first up is my Jungle Magnolia Queen. So this is Jungle Magnolia Queen. You'll notice it is just papers. I've done nothing else with this. I have picked the fabric that I want to use, i.e. I have colored it in Quiltster, but I have not validated that I have that fabric. Now I'm pretty sure I do because it's a Tula collection that I do have a fairly large amount of, but I haven't actually pulled out the fabrics and made sure that I physically have everything. So that will be order of business number one, to do that. Next up is this retreat finish. So this is a quilt that I started on the Alaskan cruise last summer in August. It is not the one I taught. It is one that the ladies the week before had done. And it is kind of an Alaskan trees version, and it's in rows. I really just need a few hours to sit down and sew the rows together, and it's done. And I've even made the binding already. So that one, fairly simple. Next up, Queen of Diamonds. This was all the rage 2 years ago. I think it came out in 2023, maybe 2024. So yeah, I did really good. Thanksgiving of 23 or 24, whichever year that was. It must have been 24. I prepped all my fabrics, cut everything out, and spent a pretty significant amount of time in the month of December making up my bags. So getting all of my individual block components all turned, wrapped. They're all in a thing. They're labeled. Everything's gorgeous. And then last year I had planned to basically work on a couple of blocks of a month to be able to finish by the end of last year. I got about 6 blocks in and just kind of lost steam. So, but now I really just want this one finished. Primarily so I can start a new one. But, you know, details. So, I think there's 21 blocks, 21 full blocks, and 6 half blocks. And I am right at the halfway point. So I have a pretty significant number of them, either full blocks or half blocks that are fully pieced. These are all done by hand. It's English paper piecing. I love doing it in front of the TV, you know, when camping, whatever. Lots of options there in terms of portability and whatnot. And you really don't need a lot of stuff to be able to do it. So it's a great traveling project. I just kind of wasn't in the mood for it this past year. So, but I'm kind of recommitted to getting that one done. So that one's next up on the list. Then Wensleydale. Wensleydale is a Jen Kingwell pattern from her recipes book. So this is one of the blocks, and there's light blocks and there's dark blocks, and they're a super odd, weird size. They're sort of like a pineapple, pineapple-ish block, or a takeoff on the economy block, where it's, instead of being a square and a square and a square, it's like a diamond in a square and a diamond, I guess. Anyway, so I'm of course making a giant one, so it's 120 blocks. I think I have about 30 of them done, so they're here. And I have kind of 10 more, the next 10, kind of all mapped out. So they've got all their fabrics all decided and their paper, and they're all here in my tray system. So that's all ready to go. Aside from that, I want to do Peaceful Snowfall, which I'll try to put a picture up of that one. It's a Judy Niemeyer. It's one I want to teach in the fall. I've had it cut out for ages. It's all fully cut, ready to go. I just need to find some time to sew. I want to finish 2 projects that are off at the Long Armor. I'm expecting to get those back probably the 1st of April-ish. One of them is Old Jalopy Table Runner, and the other one is I'm calling it Blue Bonnet. It is a mixer from the Mariners Compass mixer group that I custom designed in Quiltster as part of Quiltworks University in 2024, 2025. I think it was 2024, to be honest. And I got all of my piecing done while we were there at Stitch in Heaven in Texas. And then I came home and put it in a box because I was super busy that year teaching and traveling and whatnot. And I just never really got back to it. So aside from that, I have Sugar Plum Fairy. That's a new release from Judy Niemeyer. Came out just before Christmas 2025. It's a smaller wall hanging size quilt that I want to get done to teach for a class in the fall. And then I have my Tula Log Cabins, my long-term tiny paper piecing from It's So Emma. So I've got that one going on, still in process. I have about right at the 200 mark of 600 blocks, so about a third of the way done. Still got a lot to do. And then I have some small projects I want to finish. I want to do Pocket Compass, this guy, in Tula, just to have another sample of this one. Then I want to do Broken Starfish, which is a new wall, it's not a wall hang, it is a table runner that just came out in the fall. So I want to get that one done. And then I need to make a new wishing star sample. And I want to do a set of milk thistle placemats for Christmas. So got those going. And then the new technique of the month will come out in the fall. Actually, I think it's going to be released at H&H, it sounds like. So I'm excited, super excited to see that one and get that on the plans. I am headed to Montana in September to work on that one at the CI retreat. And then I also have a project I want to work on for a teaching engagement called Arabesque, which is essentially a giant tree skirt. Very simply pieced, but paper pieced. And I just want to run it in a couple of color combinations. It's a really interesting kind of geometric repeating pattern sort of thing. So you can turn it into a very modern component, or you can leave it in the very traditional set. So I do want to do one of each from a sample perspective. And then of course, there's always the big new projects, Cinnamon and Sage, and I already talked about the new technique of the month, so I don't need to talk about it again, but those will both be big ones because there's a regular and a queen. So kind of big projects. So it's a good mix of little, medium, and big projects for the year. I don't know how well I'm going to stay on track. I'm a little behind already, and it's only February. But for quarter one, I really am focusing on getting my blocks done for Queen of Diamonds, which I've done really well. I've got 3 blocks done in January. I've gotten 3 blocks done so far in February. And I really had only planned to finish 2 blocks a month from January through September so that I could spend October, November, and December doing assembly. So I'm ahead in that respect, but I know that as the year progresses, it gets harder and harder to get those things done to fit all that hand piecing in. And I also know that some or several of the blocks that I have left are the ones that have a bazillion pieces because I did purposely, I don't do a ton of English paper piecing. I love it, but I just don't do it as often as I would like. And as a result, I kind of get a little rusty and a little out of practice. So I had intentionally chosen to do the more simple, straightforward blocks just to get myself back in the routine of sitting in the chair, you know, every night and doing a little bit of sewing. So I kind of intentionally chose the ones that have bigger pieces, less things. And I know I have one that has like 85 pieces. And the blocks are pretty big. They're like 16-inch diamonds. So the edges are 16 inches. But I think it has like 85 pieces maybe. I don't know. Don't quote me. I don't know. But a lot. And like several of them are like in the half-inch category. So lots and lots of tiny, tiny piecing. So that's what I've got planned. I'm going to try to do a video every month, kind of updating you on what got done, where we are, kind of where that is. So from now until the 15th of March, my plan is to finish 2 more of these guys. So we'll see where that gets to. And I'd like to get 15 more of the Wensleydale blocks done, get this guy finished, and at least get this one papers prepped and into individual bags and the fabrics assigned. So I'm ready to start piecing come the middle of March. So that's my plans for the month. I hope you'll visit us, come back and see what we're doing and how it's going next month. I have a pretty big schedule in terms of new patterns coming out and new samples getting done. And I did promise a couple students that I would work on some specific tutorials that they're looking for. So I'll be posting those here in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, there's a lot going on between now and March 15th. So meet me back here March 15th and we'll see where we're at. All right. Thanks for visiting and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.